the however many you have, 5 or 6 that you have, if you had to pick 2, what 2 would you pick? Just have those in mind. Okay? So identifying additional shifts, top 2. Okay, time is yours. And when we do
well, it's just sense of processes, right? Today I was saying processes are very good. They're almost individualized with fish. Tomorrow we're asking for enterprise processes, local customization. Is that where you were going with it, Nick?
Everything that was in that IT basically it's like we're not delivering innovation based on adjustment to that, adjust our guardrails to allow us to invest in our So this is like, simplify our guardrails. Not take on more risk, but just simplify our guardrails to allow us to invest in our costs. Sure. Yep.
Maybe you get your top two.
Oh, so
Identify your
yeah.
top. Doesn't mean the others are good.
Adjust our so for this one, the innovation mindset, we say we're going to adjust. Adjust our desired outcome. Our innovation mindset is to expect it
all tied together.
But I do think this is always to adjust our guardrails around this. So one of them is like around risk, and the other one is around all these check boxes that we have to check all the same just decided to go. And so I use some adjustments
Okay, anyone got more time? Okay, top two. Let me get you back. Pause you there. All right. Here's what we're gonna do. I'm gonna open it up and just give us one of your top two, and we'll capture. And obviously,
Your spokesman.
you probably talked a lot about the same things, right? Identified some of the same shifts. So we'll just ask as we go along. And we get started. So we have one up there already that was shared. Someone give us another one. Please.
Inconsistent and mixed accountability to consistent.
Okay, so current state C1 is inconsistent, mixed accountability, and the C2 is consistent accountability. Okay, good. Excellent.
Do we have expectations in here too?
Yes.
Expectations.
Yep. And let's just add to accountability and expectations. Consistent accountability and expectations. Perfect. Please.
I have there is mistrust between the field and the branch sports center. To the field and the branch sports center trust each other.
Okay, good. So the current state is a mistrust between the field and the branch center. C2 is a complete trust between the field and the branch. Okay. Alright. By the way, the rule is when you're working on a flip chart or you're typing up there, however you spell it is always correct. Okay.
So we had right consensus for C1 and purposeful speed and C2.
So C1 is management by consensus. Yeah, we could add management and decision making by consensus. And decision making by consensus. Which is a total mirage, right? But so many people buy into that mirage that hey, I can get consensus on everything. Okay, you said C2 was
Purposeful speed.
okay, good. Purposeful speed. Yeah, good. Okay, excellent.
We talked about speed a little bit too, but using failure
Well, no, so we separated the two, right? So today, we're very risk averse and return oriented, right? Before we make an investment in something, it's like, hey, we gotta show a 5-year ROI on this thing. I think the C2 is like adjust our guardrails, just allow us to invest and fail fast.
Yeah.
Because the message I'm getting in IT is that we're not delivering innovation fast enough. So is it a guardrail expectation that we need to, it was convenient that I had security and
Did work out nice.
the lawyers in my ears, so we got-
Part of the fifth one there. This one? Yeah. And the reason I'm combining as we go, just to give you a sense, we're gonna create this list, and then as I mentioned, there's some voting. And those that are like and similar, we wanna capture those as similar, so you're not having to split your vote. The other thing I'd say is, the wording right here are just placeholders. We're gonna do wordsmithing, right? Think in terms of theme. What is the intended shift or theme? Okay.
Doing lots of things okay, to doing a bunch of you really well.
Love it. So do lots of things okay. C2, we do the vital few really well. Well said. I said it wasn't wordsmithing. That's a pretty good word. You guys don't mess with it. Yeah.
So C1, moving from consensus from everyone.
Okay.
And C2 is, I haven't worked right on
Yeah,
this.
we can do it together.
Just as authoritarian.
Yeah, is it, you tell me if this is wrong.
Got it.
Is it consensus from everyone to the need alignment? Or how would you?
Yeah, so there's kind of two angles on C2. One is recognizing when I'm important, but I'm not so important that I get to make the decision.
Yeah.
And supporting that.
Yeah.
The other is from a decision ownership standpoint is knowing I own the decision and having the ability to say, okay, I can take all this input, but at the end of the day, I'm going to make my decision.
That's your power.
Let's capture that, overall.
Yes.
Yep, in 4. And you could, let's go to the C2 side. We have purposeful speed, and then let's also add to that, empowered decision. Very good. And empowered decision making, just so we're all on the same page, as James said, it's empowered to, sometimes be the decision maker, and that's correct, we've identified that. It's sometimes empowered to inform the decision, right?
Is trust in that?
Yeah,
Trusting your leaders to make decisions?
certainly, yeah. Yeah, we can add trust to that as well. Yeah, because in the end, you wanna own all decisions that are made, whether I made it, or I informed the decision, or even I was told about a decision, right? We use that word alignment. Alignment happens so that we can ultimately own that decision. There's some trust in there. Okay, good. What else? What are other, specific shifts we identified?
I think a common thing we talked about, it kind of ties into trust, but shifting the mindset of trying to figure out whether or not we're going to do it to how we do it.
Okay.
Like, too many times we have people getting in the way, trying to determine if we're gonna do it or not. My message has been, if that's not our decision, then our job is to figure out how we're gonna do it.
So C1, lots of conversation around if we should do it. C2, conversation on how we're gonna do it. There was, what else?
A little bit of the communication piece too, it was up there already, I think we are really good at the top-down communication, but I think it's like the supervisor level and the branch level, it gets a little funnier, and I think there's not much clarity in how they're interpreting it or how it's coming across.
So C1 is there's clarity at the top, C2, lack of clarity through the organization. Yeah, if I'm not saying that right, correct?
Yeah, like C2, where we would want to be is they're growing whole
Yeah,
organization.
yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, sorry. I was C1. Yeah, I said C1 to C1. I did a little C1 and then okay, got it. That's right. It was C1A and C1B. Good, sorry.
We had process and internally focused to outcome and customer.
Love it. So C1 tell me more about the C1 role. So it's, I conform to my role, yes, yeah. So C1, yeah, job conformity or role conformity. C2, say that again, how you said it?
Is acting to meet business needs.
Actively, outcomes focused.
Just kind of your,
It's kind of activity versus results, doing the job versus achieving the result. Good. Okay, good. There was one.
I didn't discuss this with the group, so.
Jeff is very
We invest first in things that make our lives and business better we invest in things that make our customers' lives better.
Love it, yeah. Let's actually add that to, the customer focused one. So, yep, on the C1 side, 9, just 9. Let's add to that, we invest on things that make our lives easier. To the C, we invest in things that make our customers happy. Okay, anything else? All right, I'm gonna put you back into your group and just take a couple minutes, look at the list. If you can't see it, go ahead, you can move around to see it. Anything missing? Okay, so start thinking that already. Don, what would you add?
C1 is no air conditioning.
Go ahead. You know what, it's actually, I was gonna make a point. That's exactly right. We just said, yeah, that's. I would, it's funny, that was very funny, but also. No, it's not funny, it's a period. This is timely, right? As you think about these are meant to be, you have your ownership essentials that once those get slipped, those don't change very often. Those are pretty bedrock to the organization. These, where we're going with these, are meant to be timely. And then if you had to put a time frame on it, you're looking at like the next 18 to 24 months. What is most critical? How do we need people thinking and acting? What shifts need to happen? So keep that in mind as we go through this. This isn't about forever and ever and ever. This is what are timely shifts. And our expectation is these will change over time. 18 months from now or 24 months, you're going to come back and look at what you created today and go, okay, what do we still need to be focusing on? Where do those need to evolve and change? These are meant to be timely. Yeah.
I do think one more to Colleen's point is the life culture. I think we need something where that's C1 today, that's life culture is more, it's like direct feedback,
Real
feedback that's honest.
Yeah. So C1 polite, C2.
We have that in our accountability and expectations.
Okay.
Yeah, for number 2.
Okay.
If we talk specifically about, we're a little too nice.
Yeah.
And we don't have the tough conversations.
Good. Perfect. Those might combine. So in a minute. Well, actually, we'll give you time in a minute to combine some terms of those might combine. Really good. Okay.
So-
Please.
Go to James first. I maybe have a
James.
comment.
Help me with the words. So C1 for me is a little bit about, just doing the job as it exists today. That's what we do versus envisioning or seeing, especially with technology and AI, be open-minded to, I might have to work different.
Yeah.
So I don't think.
I think C1 is, I work for today, kind of a mentality. C2 is, we work for the future and innovate. Open-minded, that, you mentioned that, right? We work for the future and are open-minded. Jason, you had a comment?
I just had a comment on your piece around the timeliness of these. At the risk of some people in the room going, okay, here he goes again, asking this question, talking about this. I do want to just maybe talk briefly, maybe get your coaching on this. We have ownership essentials. I know where you're going with this, into kind of that results equation and timely things that we need to focus on today to get the results we're trying to achieve. I feel like there's still gotta be like something that we're like anchoring in, like that is kind of enduring from a cultural belief standpoint. So I don't know like where we end in this exercise. Cause I don't wanna, I'd like to leave this day and a half with this team give a bunch of great input. We've got a really solid direction. Let's go and let's execute and act on this. But where does Ownership Essentials fit in to kind of where we end up with this? That's a whole maybe thing to open up, and maybe I'm gonna mess up your process a little bit here, but I just wanna make sure we're understanding that, because if we don't solve that, you're gonna leave and we're gonna be here going, we got this, what do we do with this? That wasn't part of the discussion.
I'll give you a reaction to that and open it up and any discussion around that. I see those ownership essentials as, like in a lot of organizations, they'll call them values, right? And they're kind of value-based. And correct this if it's wrong, pretty timeless. Those ownership essentials are bedrock to the organization. They probably won't change very much year to year. They just become, and you used the word earlier, Jason, that I really like. It's an anchor for us. And as you layer on top of that cultural beliefs, they're timely, they're prioritized ways in which we need to shift. They're framed up as, in fact, if you go to a meeting and you put up your cultural beliefs and someone has a reaction when they're new and says, well, that's not, we're not doing that today. Then good, congratulations, you got it right. Because these are shifts, right? These are shifts in how we need to think and act. So I would share that component. The other component I would share is your cultural beliefs. The ownership essentials should be as an anchor, whatever we create in the cultural beliefs, they should be supportive of that. Okay? They should be in service of those ownership essentials. They should not contradict the ownership essentials in any way. And so it's being true to those as well. That's where most organizations we work with have some values that are there in the organization, and they are not left behind or lost. The focus tends to go to the cultural beliefs in the short term to then anchor back to those values or ownership essentials over the long term. Reaction to that, please.
Yeah, I'm just gonna add one more kind of piece of context, is that I think, ownership essentials has good awareness, but maybe never quite got to the activation piece of the story. So I think that's also kind of a part of the landscape of,
Yeah.
I don't even know if they have awareness.
What they are.
I mean, you ask this room, who can name them? They don't have awareness. We don't have awareness. They're all about it.
We changed the last one, I think we were marching, can you use a little bit more, I wanted to define.
I think it was very department and location specific. If they did something with them, it was up to them internally. We didn't have a systematic program to really activate them across the organization.
Other than mid-year, year-end
Any other, Jason, how do you see those ownership essentials, their role? What role would you like them to play going forward? Or do you see them going forward?
Well, I don't know if they are the ones that exist today, but I think they're, to your point, there has to be some statement of kind of enduring values that are kind of anchors. And where you're going with kind of this, these are the shifts that have to occur. I had a hard time with that when we early kind of talked through this. I think I'm there because things that are showing up on here are things that we're gonna have to have a surge to be really intentional to drive something different. So I think that's making sense to me, but there has to be something there. I don't know if they're the owner, I don't know if they're the ones that exist today or not.
Yeah.
Because honestly, I mean, some folks in here could name them all, and that's great. Probably, maybe half couldn't. And that's not an indictment, that's just a reality of kind of where we're at. And so either they aren't the right ones, or we simply haven't given kind of the effort to activate and be intentional with it. But maybe even as part of this exercise, maybe we figure out, you know, where you're taking us. Maybe we take a moment, even tomorrow morning, and say, okay, we have these. Maybe we kind of bring up ownership essentials and talk as a group a little bit about it. If we can squeeze that into the time here, because I think if we don't leave with some input on that, we're gonna be a little bit wonky here in how we're trying to drive this. So maybe you can guide us on how we integrate that into the conversation in the next afternoon and morning.
Absolutely. And when it kind of, where my brain goes, when it comes to activation, Colleen, you shared, or others have shared, is there potentially needs to be some activation around those ownership essentials along with the cultural beliefs. And telling that story as you introduce, and we're gonna give you, by the way, not all tomorrow, but we're gonna give you a really good playbook on how to introduce what you create today. The ownership essentials could be part of that introduction as well. How do you make that experiential? How do you create a workshop or however we end up whatever we end up creating an introduction that is meaningful and that gets people open to change and willing to be a part of it. And I know this is going to sound boastful, but it works really good. It works. You know, the way in which to do that, there's some things we've learned over the years that just lead to people being open to and engaging with cultural beliefs, but ownership essentials can be part of that as well. So maybe even tomorrow morning, maybe we look at those. Whatever you create the cultural beliefs, we look at the ownership essentials, and the question is probably something to the effect of, is this the right foundation to this timely cultural beliefs? The word you use is really good, Jason, surge, because those are meant to be a surge.
Yeah. So if we can fit that in, I think that'd be really worthwhile, Dustin. We can maybe help orient tonight maybe around what they are and make sure we've got the content ready for tomorrow morning.
That's great.
To kind of show and maybe side by side.
Yeah.
Okay, thank you for the
Yeah,
flexibility with that.
They should work together, not each other. That's fine. Okay, good. Okay, excellent. Any others? Any others that you're seeing? Any other shifts? Okay, 2 minutes in your group. Make sure there's nothing else that you want up there, and then we're going to go to kind of a voting and we're going to prioritize. But before we go there, give you 2-3 minutes into your group. Make sure there's nothing that should be doing. We will in a minute. Yeah, we'll go there.